Hello and welcome. It's time
Hey
for
there.
round 5 of the Vintage Super League. I'm Randy Bueller, joined by Brian Kelly, reigning world champion. It says that right under your name. Welcome to the booth.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You seem pretty good at this whole vintage thing.
No.
I've got a bracket that says otherwise. If we look at the bracket, you just keep winning. That seems like a good strategy for this tournament.
Well, anything can happen in Magic. I'm aware of that. You can play very well, but still have very terrible draws, and your opponent can also have very bad draws. So we all know that Magic is a combination of skill and design, and then there's serendipity involved, or lack thereof. So I like to think that as long as I don't draw terribly, I will perform adequately.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Well, your next performance will come next week. You are paired against Paul Rietzel in what is a win-and-in for a spot in the Vintage Super League. As you can see from that winner's bracket, it's also going to be David Williams versus Stephen Menendian as the other winner's bracket win-and-in. Have you taken a look at Paul's deck list? I know it's kind of a crazy, like, white weenie homebrew that... also passes as a reasonable Hate Bears deck, right?
I was the commentator for his match last week, and it's a white Hate Bears deck. That's probably the politically correct term for it.
Yeah, Paul's obviously just thrown himself into the format enthusiastically, trying to sort things out. I think the core of the deck is actually quite good. Like you said, it's a Hate Bears deck. I don't know. Have you played much?
Deck. Those decks are very dangerous. It's easy to metagame for the kind of field you're used to with the Dredge, Oath, Shop, Storm, and overlook these Hate Bears. And they can really just throw you off. So I don't have the attitude like it's a Hate Bear deck, I can always crush them. I really can. They torture me frequently.
Okay. Feels like the Mentor half of your deck is probably better there than the Storm half?
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably true. Definitely.
Let's look at the losers bracket while we're here, because that is just the first of 2 consecutive win-and-ins. You see those matches 17 and 18 where the loser of 14 and the loser of 13 drop down and then get another shot at it. Losers bracket starting to get fleshed out. Bob will be playing the winner of the match we're about to watch between Caleb and Andy Probasco. Kai Buddha is waiting for the winner of next week's match between Shuhei Nakamura and Tom Martell. Bob did have a last-minute flight come up. We were joking about how he was actually playing his match against Nick from the airport, kind of airport Wi-Fi situation, during a layover. Like, he took one flight, landed, logged onto the airport Wi-Fi, won his match 15 minutes before boarding started on his next flight. But yeah, he's in the air right now, which means we will not have a 6th match this week. We'd initially planned to have the winner of Bob and Nick play against the winner of Caleb, and turns out to be Andy, but that will just have to happen next week because Bob can't play from the actual airplane. Next week's shaping up to be just a great show. There are 4 spots on the line. We will complete this double elim portion of the qualifier tournament. So 4 spots in Vintage Super League will be handed out next week. And then the week after that is the last chance. Anybody who picked up 2 losses gets to come back, one last 8-person single elim for the 5th spot in the Vintage Super League for this coming season. Sounds like our players are ready. Let's get down to the match between Grassman and Caleb. Hello and welcome. It is Scab Delver, Caleb's brew, which looks a lot better after the Bazaar Moxon last weekend, where Scab Clan Berserker won that tournament against Andy's Jeskai Mentor. Do you have a read on how this matchup plays out, Brian?
I would think that it would be difficult for Andy without a fast mentor, but we see his hand there. He has a mentor.
Speaking of fast mentors, Black Lotus for turn 1 Monastery Mentor is some good.
Yeah, it looks good for Andy from here.
Wow, he's even got Force of Will. He can play a turn 1 Remora. He'll probably play that after the mentor. Yeah, the players are going to trade Force of Wills, right? Is what's going to happen. Caleb's going to have to try to force the turn 1 mentor, Andy's going to force back, and then...
No, because I think Andy's going to have a cavern naming human, so Caleb would have to have the foresight to force the
I
Black
see.
Lotus.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, yeah, you're right. That's totally the way this gets sequenced. You're absolutely right.
Ugh. He's going to sacrifice the Lotus for blue and then play Mystic Remora. Oh, this is gross.
Man, I thought this hand was good before I parsed Cavern of Souls. Good luck, Caleb.
But it's not over yet because Andy's hand is basically inoperable at this point. I mean,
Wow, so Caleb's going to force the Remora. Can't force the Mentor. Can't stop the Monk, but he does stop Mystic Remora from coming into play. I think that makes sense, because if he's going to get back into this game, he's going to need to play a lot of
That's
stuff.
my life. Someone plays Mystic Remora, you force it, you draw the mental misstep. Do you force the Delver here?
Interesting. Probably not with a sudden shock in your hand.
Yeah, right. Although there's no red mana.
True.
Ugh. That is so gross.
Jet powers the Monk up so they can attack through Delver. I mean, Andy is depending on the top of his deck to give him something. I don't know. Maybe he could just win from here. He can still force a will something, but he's almost out of gas, right?
Yeah, the best thing he could draw would be a Mox Ruby or a fetch land, because I don't think he's going to gush this game. I think he's going to pitch the gush Force of Will, and it might be over something as trivial as a Brainstorm.
Yeah, here's the Brainstorm. Let's see. Force of Will's got to be pretty tempting. He declines. Interesting. Time Walk is part of Caleb's comeback draws.
I think he wants to put back the Mindbreak Trap. And
sure. Scab Clan, maybe? He doesn't even have access to 3 mana in this draw.
No, I think he does, because he can gush next.
Gush. Yeah, all right, I'll buy that. He put back the Misstep. And yeah, this does allow him to gush into a 3rd mana and play Scab Clan. Interesting.
Of course.
I was going to say more colorless mana is not that good, but the prowess trigger is.
Exactly.
He's now 1 blue mana away from hard casting a gush.
Mm-hmm.
Take 7? Yeah, 7.
Alright.
Caleb reshuffles his Brainstorm cards, falls to 5, draws a Preordain.
Leave that Delver on defense.
You think?
I think so, yeah.
Try to trade it for the Mentor?
Yeah, I think his best plan is to try to have Andy run out of gas. Because he's going to have 5 creatures, and then... Oh, man.
Well, Caleb can Time Walk here, right? He can Preordain, Gush, and Time Walk.
Yes. He would be alright if he could find a young Pyromancer. This is going to get forced.
Yeah. And then force back?
Which
okay,
is
so he's not going to Gush.
Because I would want that Gush to happen. I wouldn't want to pitch it to Force Will. Usually when you
can respond. You can respond with a Gush. How lucky do you feel? Blue card and something else? He's thinking about it. Yeah, it is super risky to just...
No, because now if he draws a Pyromancer, he can't Gush.
Yeah. He does get next turn, though. Like, he gets the Time Walk turn, so... He drew half the Gush cards right there. Time Walk turn. Repeat.
That's really good. I think that's good.
I mean, it's okay. You're at 4 against 4 monks and a Mentor.
He has to play the Scab Clan.
Okay.
Let it chill. And then he has to like hope Andy draws a blank.
Yeah, Scab Clan can block a 1/1 monk token and preserve your last point of life.
Mm-hmm.
Then all you need is Andy to never draw meaningful spells or red mana for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a plan. See how
And he's going to draw Mox Ruby. He's going to be like, Mox Ruby, trigger, sudden shock you. Trigger.
All right, he's just going to cycle the repeal for
This is just gross.
Monastery Mentor's a hell of a Magic card.
It is. It's so awful. People hate it. I don't know anyone that likes it, even if they play it. Like, I play it, and I win with it, and I still don't like it.
You block the other way around? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. If he's got a prowess trigger, you're dead. So you get to assume that he can't trigger prowess. Yeah, trade Delver for the Mentor. Snapcaster is here!
I mean, but all Andy has to do now is draw a volcanic island and sudden shock Caleb.
Well, yeah. But Snapcaster is here. We're not dead on board anymore.
Right. That's... Oh. He needs to Snapcaster repeal.
You could do Time Walk. Get in a hit with Scab Clan. Untap.
I don't know. Oh, man.
Does get in the hit with Scab Clan. Renown has now been officially triggered on the Vintage Super League. She's actually quite powerful.
It's over.
Yeah, there's the red mana. Scalding Tarn off the top. We'll turn on this Sudden Shock. Actually, could have gotten a little scary. Like, if Andy whiffs there and loses a Mana Crypt flip, Caleb could have actually killed him before his next turn, hypothetically.
Yes.
But turn 1 Monastery Mentor was good enough. It's Brassman who moves a game closer to continuing on. This is an elimination match for the double elim portion of the tournament. Whoever loses this will come back the week after next for that last chance single elim. The winner goes on to play Bob Maher next week.
That was unfortunate, because I would think that Caleb would be more favored in this matchup.
I think I agree with you. I actually think Scab Clan Berserker specifically is quite good in this matchup. I mean,
and when someone is on a Remora plan and you have so many creatures, you get virtual card advantage from it. Absolutely. Because they play Remora, they invest mana in it, and I don't let people draw cards off of a Remora unless I absolutely have to. I play around it like it's a standstill. It's just like, I'm going to wait till you can't pay for that anymore, and then you're down a card. That's how I attempt to deal with Remora. Obviously, there are times when you don't have that luxury, but a lot of times I do. And if Andy plays a Remora, Caleb can just play a Pyromancer, play a Delver, play a Scab Can, and and then Andy will just be tapping out.
Makes sense to me. Caleb's going to need that draw twice in a row, though, if he's going to win this match.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bizarre Moxen tournament that was won by a Scab Clan Berserker 5-color human deck over the weekend, it beat Mentor in the semi, it beat Mentor in the finals, and it was very much Scab Clan Berserker specifically that just punished the Mentor deck for having a bunch of cantrips. Like, it couldn't get the normal velocity of churning through its deck.
Right.
I mean, it sounded crazy the first time I heard it, but I think I'm in. Like, I think I buy this whole theory. That just is a legit.
Can't see Andy's 7th card unless he went down to 6. Did he go down to 6?
I think that's a 7-card hand. He just hasn't opened his graveyard, so our hand cam is off a little bit.
Flusterstorm that.
Flusterstorm is Explorer.
Snap. It's not just an Explorer. It's they lay another land and the Mentor is on the table before you have a chance to react. Time Walk is far more dangerous, even in the early game, than people realize sometimes. Right, yeah, play the Pyromancer, probe him.
This time it's Caleb who gets one of those go wide token generating creatures on the board first.
Mm-hmm.
Pyromancer's no mentor, but it is cheaper. It certainly comes in handy.
Yeah. Looks pretty good for Caleb. He can play the Berserker next turn.
And he basically needs to hit off this Gush. Probably just does it main phase, right?
Maybe, because even though it sets him down on mana, he has so many mocks in that.
His hand's so bad. I think I would have floated too and just gushed main phase there. Instead, he gets to meet our friend, the Scab Clan Berserker. How good is it right here, right? Now, now he's going to have to gush. He doesn't even get the mana, or he's going to have to wait, and then he's going to take the damage.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
Yeah. Scab Clan connects. Renowned ability triggered.
He has verdicts, right? Or at least one verdict in his sideboard?
That's an excellent question.
Oh.
Oh. Even the Mox is hurt. Scab Clan Berserker, ladies and gentlemen.
That card is good.
It is. My love for you is like a truck. Berserker.
Now Caleb's going to draw Time Walk.
I'm going to stop the quote there. Snap and a Mox. Keep the Snapcaster, makes sense.
I would just attack. You don't want to overextend.
Because you're playing around Supreme Verdict?
Mm-hmm. Oh, worst card ever. These guys should be siding some of those out. That card is so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Force of Will in this matchup either.
Especially when both players have Cavernous Souls. It's like if your opponent has the Cavern, there's nothing you can force anyway that you wouldn't just be able to Flusterstorm or use more efficient counterspell on, aside from maybe a random Mox.
All right, on to game 3.
Now, it'll be interesting if Andy has a turn 1 Remora, and Caleb has one of those hands that just kind of laughs at it. Turn 1 Remora, all right, here's this Delver of Secrets. Doesn't trigger for you. Mystic Remora is one of those cards, and I'm not insulting it. Andy's deck is really good, and of course Kevin Crone has had a lot of success with it. But there is a certain truism about that card, and that is Mystic Remora really shines against really bad players. Not that anyone in here is a bad player, but when you're going to a wide open event, if you're playing Mystic Remora, you will actually get a lot of leverage out of it against players who make bad decisions.
Sure. Both players with explosive hands.
Gross.
I don't even know what Andy's 7th card is. He's got turn 2 Jace.
Right.
But does he have a blue card to defend it with? It's a Cavern of Souls on the far left of his hand. So No. It's a little mana flooded, actually. Meanwhile,
Oh!
Caleb... Wow, yeah. Caleb had Lotus with not a whole lot to do with it, but that was before Ancestral Recall came off the top. I mean,
This is a real game. This is a
yeah,
real
he
game.
could Lotus for Preordained Ponder and Ancestral with Snapcaster ready to follow up later.
Yeah, I think I would play the Lotus, and I would play the Cavern, and I think I would pass.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm going to run Preordain and Ponder, fish out any missteps, and then resolve an Ancestral. I like Caleb's line. Oh, even better. Now we get to go red mana into Young Pyro and still have a cantrip back.
See, I'm sneaky. I'm a little bit more controlish. I would want to see what they do. Like, if he throws down the Mana Crypt and the Jace, I would want to Ancestral then, in case I draw into a Force and a Flusterstorm, so that I could deal with that kind of stuff.
You're a beatdown deck. Let's go find a red card. Young Pyromancer, Scab Clan, Berserker, any red card.
Oh, don't Ponder Ancestral, because you can just snap it back. Alright, so now Jace is not that good. He's a forecasting cost Brainstorm plus Fog effect. Oof.
Jeez. Almost in the nick of time. So now what happens? This is obviously going to get misstepped.
Right.
Andy probably has to pitch his Jace to defend it.
I don't know.
Oh, there's a Young Pyro over there. Like, your Jace is not living. Yeah, I think you defend the Ancestral. Which, you're crossing your fingers, obviously, hoping it works.
The Jace kind of is an Ancestral, though, that Brainstorm, because...
It's only a Brainstorm.
The hand is so bad, though, that you're getting the cards that are completely useless. So how fast can he dig?
He's only 2 cards in the yard. 2 fetch lands. But Caleb still has Ancestral and Snapcaster Mage.
Right. Oh, boy. And why not that?
Hello, Scab Clan Berserker.
Yeah.
Welcome to the next round of the losers bracket.
Caleb has to be thinking that Andy has a real hand. So he's probably hedging against the Fluster Storms, the Red Blasts.
It's true. I think you just run out Time Walk here anyway, though, right? Like, make Andy show you a counter, trade Time Walk for whatever counterspell he's holding, and clear a path for your Ancestral and Snapcaster. Okay, he's going to do nothing, which probably means he's going to end step Ancestral. I think I would have just Time Walked there, or tried to. And we can see it would have worked.
I'm not sure. There's a lot that goes into that. Because also, if he taps out and it's Flusterstorm, then he signals that he's mostly offline. Alright, here's a Dig Through Time. Oh, and he's representing the Flusterstorm, so if Andy...
It's hard. Yeah, Caleb is nervous about that one. That Andy has gone out of his way to leave a blue mana untapped for these last 2 turns.
I thought he put Dig Through Time on the stack. I didn't see that it was stack fading. Yeah, he needs to... I think Andy needs to find a verdict.
Wow, he found the Flusterstorm that he's been representing. Hilarious. He's still got problems with the Young Pyro, but...
Yeah.
Andy's showing you he knows what he's doing with his deck. He's playing it well. Yeah, and Dak put just enough cards in the graveyard that he's able to dig through time here, too. Now you have to respond to Ancestral
now.
This has to be... This is an easy response, Ancestral. Whoa! Caleb is willing to let dig through time resolve.
Oh. Alright. He should Ancestral now. He needs to Ancestral.
Yeah. He held it back because he didn't want to give Andy the knowledge, right? He wanted Andy to decide on the dig through time without knowing he was going to Ancestral. I'm just not sure I buy that line.
If you did that before the dig through time result, okay. All right. Now looking at Caleb's hand, it looks like Caleb can win. He can play Cavern, Mox, Pyromancer, Probe, Time Walk, and then Snapcaster Time Walk.
Yeah. Basically, he needs to resolve a Time Walk before Andy can untap and Supreme Verdict him.
Mm-hmm.
And Axiom Probe is going to show him that the coast is, in fact,
quite clear. Unless you pass the turn. In which case, things get very bad.
Right. Oh, only one blue mana for Caleb? So he can't actually... No, he can Snapcaster off the Cavern, so yeah, he's fine. This all just works. Yeah, I think Caleb's got it.
I think I would have played the Pyromancer... Well, I might have played the Pyromancer before the Probe. But I think it'll be okay either way.
Oh, Kai's pointing out an interesting line in our chat. He thinks Caleb wanted his Ancestral to get Force of Willed, that he waited for Andy to dig because the Ancestral was bait to clear a path for Time Walk, which is in fact lethal. I think Kai and Caleb may be onto something there. That Ancestral just wasn't that important. And he doesn't want to fight the dig. He just wants Time Walk to resolve.
Wait, no, he should play the Pyromancer first.
Good enough anyway, right?
It is good enough, but...
It's value. Lost. Yeah. It is particularly odd when you're now following up with the Pyro. And yeah, Caleb and Andy sees it. Time Walk is in fact lethal, and Caleb Durward wins. Scab Delver.
Nice job, Caleb.
Yeah, no, look. We have some awesome lists at VSL this week. This set, Caleb's deck is cool and full of tech. I like your deck too. Like, you seem to have the Mentor deck, which is having the most success.
I appreciate that. It has the fewest mentors, That's why.
Is that the key to the Mentor deck? Only 12. Caleb has the fewest mentors. He's all the way at 0.
They're good, but they cost 3. You don't want them cluttering up your hand in the early game.
They cost 5 mana too.
Just like you don't really want 18 Time Vaults in your deck with only 1 Voltaic key or something like that. Like you don't want to be drawing 3 casting cost win conditions because you have to kind of have the right balance of being able to interact and draw cards and have mana. You don't want to like open a grip with Monastery Mentor, Monastery Mentor, Monastery Mentor, because then like you'll probably only have 1 land and you won't be able to protect things. And if your opponent's going to kill you on turn 1 or turn 2, you won't be able to defend yourself. So I like 2 mentors.
Yeah, look, the biggest thing I'm learning from this is that Vintage looks pretty awesome right now. Like, I'm ready for the regular season so I can get in the ring too, because
Vintage is pretty exciting. I think a lot of people are getting frustrated with Monastery Mentor itself. I think that the more you play Vintage, the more that card becomes just really excruciating.
Like, you're winning with it, but Brassman has been eliminated from the tournament. Apparently, it's soft as Scab Clan Berserker. Look, I don't feel like we understand what's going on in Vintage right now. I feel like the people who have said that Workshops is now suddenly dead are overreacting, and the people who are like, oh, how are you possibly going to beat Mentor? Like, Mentor might turn out to be the best deck, maybe. I'm not ready to conclude that yet, and I feel like the more I watch, the more I feel like there are at least plenty of other things to go explore.
It's more of a card than a deck, I would say. It's a win condition that slots into many different decks. It's like Tinker, except that it's not restricted, and you don't have to play a bad robot in your deck to get mileage out of it. So it's like a strict upgrade to Tinker, and it's harder for your opponent to deal with. Like if you could play 4 Tinkers, I think people would be able to respond to Tinker better than they can to Monastery Mentor because the answers to it are so narrow.
Interesting.
And it's so punishing.
Card's great, no doubt about it. I'm still excited to play Vintage right now.
I mean, I wish they would print a card that would say, exile all tokens, gain 10 life, or token exiled this way, and draw up to 2 or 3 cards. And I put the up to clause there so that, like, if your library is running low, you have to protect yourself. And it should also have split second, and you should be able to play it from your library like Glacial Worm.
That's you make the card submission? Very interesting.
Well,
Let's take stock of where we are at in the tournament, because we are
I
now
like
done.
hate cards to really deter a strategy. I think a hate card really has to
Fair enough.
serve as deterrent to people playing it. Where, well, it's not banned. You can play that, but I dare you to.
Let's look at what we've got queued up for next week. David Williams is going to play Stephen Menendigan. The winner of that match is into the league, claims one of the 4 spots. In addition, you, Brian Kelly, are going to play Paul Rietzel. The winner of that, into the league, safely qualifies for the regular season of Vintage Super League. Those 2 losers, though, are only picking up their first loss, so they're still in it. They just drop down to the losers bracket, where you can see that Nick, Reed, and Brassman have been eliminated from the double elimination portion. It's going to be Caleb versus Bob to get into a win and in. And then it's going to be Kai versus either Tom Martell or Shuhei Nakamura, once again with a spot in that win and in match on the line. So we will have a grand total of 7 matches in next week's show, 4 of which will have qualification to the Vintage Super League on the line.
It sounds great. A lot of great matchups.
Decks look great. Players are sweet. Yeah, I agree. Tonight was fun.
I was disappointed to see Reed knocked down to the Last Chance tournament. He's a really, really tight player, and I would love to see him in the league. So that was the only thing that I regret about this night that he lost.
I don't think you're the only one pulling for Reed. We'll see how he does. He'll be back in 2 weeks for that LCQ that you were talking about. All right, guys. Yeah, that is going to do it for Vintage Super League this week. I do want to give thanks to our new sponsor once again. Legion Supplies has signed on to sponsors for the whole season, so thanks very much to them. And come back. Same time, same place next week. New 5 o'clock start time on West Coast, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you, everybody.